We'll start now. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. So, okay. Maybe I just maybe wait a little bit for all people joining our live. So, now on is not. Maybe it's holding like
Probably.
probably still on. Anyway, I think maybe just let's kick off this live. This live is kind of Sovol and Luke, which you all know that is a very active community members, help a lot in the community. Yeah, whether from the product side or even the general community, I think stuff that sometimes even some people, I think, post some hate speech or something. Yeah, this is a very detail related, but anyway, that today is really great honor to invite the Luke come to join with Sovol, and also Sovol lately merged with Comgrow. So we have lots of stuff to share today. Today, our team is Melody, Wanda, and Ron. Myself is Ben Liu. So some people may know me as karate, former karate stuff. But anyway, it's really awesome joining to us, and think maybe we each of us will introduce a little bit. But first, Luke, maybe yourself introduce first, then we go aside ours.
All right. I've known Ben for a long time. We met previously when he was working with the creative team at Crowdy. I'm proud to have come with him to Sovol. I've been testing some of their products and helping the customers out, enjoying their products, and I'm generally considered one of the more knowledgeable people in repairing and making printers run properly. I have a pretty good knowledge, but I don't have access to every printer that's ever made, but they all work very similarly, so it's pretty easy to navigate helping people out, even if they're not a branded printer that I've been exposed to.
So.
Oh, and I help run the Sovol Facebook group and all the Creality Facebook groups as well.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Okay, and hello everyone. This is Wanda. It's first time to see you, Luke. Nice to meet you. Currently, I'm focused on the making content and on Instagram and TikTok, and we used to print some 3D models that related to food. Yeah, and because there's a video that caused some controversy. Yeah, and so I want to talk about the 3D printing and the food safety. Yeah, whether the prints can be used for food or not. Yeah, and it sounds like a topic series. Yeah, but I'm not academia, but I just want to how you guys think about it. For example, we used to print a bowl, which is used to wash fruits. Yeah, and when we post it on Instagram and TikTok, there's caused lots of controversy. Yeah, some people just like, oh, it's really disgusting, and he can't bear that. Or someone was like, oh, it's funny, and you can receive it a 3D printing model that used to wash some fruits or take some foods. Yeah. And what do you guys think about it? Can you receive a 3D printing model that used to wash fruit or take some foods?
You hit the nail on the head as far as the community treats 3D printing parts with food. There's two communities. One that says yes, if you're careful with washing, or if you vapor smooth it, like use ABS and vapor smooth, so that there's no layer line voids for food to go into. maybe is okay. And some people spray on product to stop the voids so that it can be washed.
Yeah.
But much controversy. I know that the people that make, in the US, that make cookie molds, they very much like using 3D printers. But every time it comes up in the group, there's argument. Not food safe. I've been doing it for years. Not food safe. It goes back and forth. But
Yeah.
I think we should let them know that they should be aware that there is a hazard if not properly cleaned, and an inherent area for food to get caught on a basic PLA print. But I think they should be able to decide on their own their wishes with what they want to do with their prints.
Yeah.
So there are two concerns on my side. One is the layer lines, and another is the Teflon. We used to use Teflon tube for wooden type extruder, and some is still existing in their hot end, like the through tube.
Mhm.
Like they use much short Teflon tube. So I'm wondering about if there is some Teflon that use the material and they will like lose your food if they have a direct contact.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I think the latest the hot one is the cocoa print, right?
Yeah.
Chocolate print.
Yeah.
I think latest the interesting part is that someone, I think it's also very famous. She attended every maker fair meetings, how cocoa print. They print chocolate.
The chocolate printers?
Yeah, chocolate printers, and I think her company should be grow. I think especially faster this year, since I see so many community members and YouTubers just purchase. I think maybe their first food printer this year.
Yeah, the chocolate printers, I don't know. I mean, they print. There's a whole gamut of what type of chocolate you can use, and the viscosities and the wax contents and the processes behind making them. I think it's neat that people are making snacks or desserts out of them. I personally don't have the time for it, but I think people eventually they'll have 3D printers with multiple sources to the same nozzle to make different types of snacks and treats, but we haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that we're looking for the future, right? I think especially in your country, some stuff. I don't know if in China there is any progress here. That I only know that there is a 3D print beef. It's organic, have meat inside. It's all vegetables, right? But I don't know if this is related to 3D printing or kind of.
So that what do they call it? So we have a restaurant that has the what do they call it? The Wonder Burger or something. It's at Burger King. It's a protein-based meat substitute. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Some of those don't even work with the people that are vegan, because they use some parts of meat in the process to create the stuff, so they don't even want to touch it because it has residue of meat in the product.
Yeah. Since I think the latest trend in China, just us, we just tend to eat more healthy sometimes. But anyway, let's jump to the next topic that I think from the Melody, right? So anything you want to share about the YouTube creator side or the activity related to whole like so in the area or other into the topic like share?
We have been talking before when we prepare some stuff for ERR, right? And today, for me, the topic I want to chat with you guys is that I have seen many posts or many comments in Twitter or YouTube, and many YouTubers then say 2023 is clipper year and 2024 is color year. So for this question, and I have also seen that the other thing that needs 3, but you only get to pick 2 arguments for seed worth quantity versus bed size for bed finger.
I think about this part maybe Yongfeng will jump to the topic.
Okay.
Right?
Because I often see some comments about product in creators comment area.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
So we are talking about multi-material. About multi-material, I think it's definitely a trend that think about it. So we used to print in one material, but we can. It's not only about color, but it's multi-material. If we can print a shoe in one piece, like if we used to print a shoe, we print with TPU or PLA, but it needs different material for different parts. But so that's fine. And that's one of the application. And I'm a multi-material system user, like the AMS so-called, and I find it very convenient, but kind of like filament wasting. Yeah, that's like we waste like double of the filament of the actual print.
For the multi-color printer.
Look, if sorry to interrupt, do we have any Wi-Fi or internet connection lost?
Your video has frozen to me. Some people in the chat are saying that they were having the same video freeze. As far as I know, at least to me, the audio has been continuous, but the video not so much.
Okay, I see that. Just I think we need to maybe. Okay. Anyway, let's continue this, right? Actually, Rong Henchen just lately. Sorry. Okay. So Rong Hen just listed about the Bamboo A1 combo.
The combo.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, right?
Yeah.
We are excited to see what people find out. So, any thoughts on this, Luke?
All right, so I heard him talking about your video just caught up. I heard him talking about the multi-material, and part of what goes on with multi-material is what he discussed is the waste of materials. So to make one part, you're going to use about 120% or so in waste of that part, which is only really okay if you're doing multiple parts. If you do 50 parts and you only lose one part's worth, not so bad, right? But it very much favors manufacturing or large item production. Whereas if you're just a person making a multicolor part, it is extremely high in the waste. I think that over time they're going to get the changing amounts down a little bit as they fine tune the firmware and the mechanical swapping. And then the other part that doesn't get really talked about, and he caught it in his earlier comment, is let's say you're making a shoe or something and you want different temperature grades of material within that. Then you're looking at potentially using like the SVO4 with IDEX, and maybe IDEX into 2 different hot ends so that you have time and the ability to change temperatures on 2 different hot ends, or deal with the materials that natively don't clean out well in the hot end. So I could see that being another way to utilize an IDEX along with MMU. But personally, I have a Mosaic Palette 2, which was an early standalone unit to run multiple filaments. It takes 4 in and can change them as it goes. And I really didn't do a whole lot of multicolored prints. I use it as a bulk feeder, so if I'm using like the Comgrow T500, we made the Grow's nursery pod full size. It's massive, for my son for a Halloween gift basket, and it allowed us to continually feed material without having to reload or stop for filament swaps on the main printer, because it's a bulk feed. It just keeps giving material, which is nice. But I don't even know that most of the MMUs will do that, because those require a stop to change out, whereas the one that I use can actually weld them together, so there's no stop and flow. So I know there's things to flesh out on it. I would say that the community has been hinting to the manufacturers they want MMUs, but I don't know how practical it is for your average user. That's going to be a financial decision as much as it is a usability thing long term.
And for Sebastian, yes, we check comments and welcome. So about the filament wasting, I was thinking about a solution called filament programming. Like, if you can pre-calculate the filament being used for a certain part, you can just precisely cut the parts you need, and you can blend the very tail of the filaments with the other coming filaments, so you don't need to purge out the rest of filament, and so we can probably solve the wasting issue with this method, but no one is developing this.
So just probably because you're not aware, the Mosaic does that in its slicing.
Oh.
So it calculates how much it needs for each color, but because you're bringing different colors into the melt zone, even if you introduce one color at the technical right time, you still have to have time to push the blended colors, because it will blend together out till it's clean in the new color, and that's where that wasting comes. Whether it happens in a print block or just as what does Bamboo call it, the poop chute? But either way, you have to waste some material to transition colors, otherwise you end up with blended colors.
Yes, so I'm okay with the blending, like we use hue fork, right? But it's on 2D dimensions. It's on 2D, but how about we apply it in 3D? So
I'm sorry, I haven't kept up with the concept that you're developing. If it's still broadcasting and you're here, give them a minute. They'll probably have to log back in. There they are.
Sorry.
You're back.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're back. So sorry, I was talking about the like Q4 in 3D.
We lost you there for a little bit.
So how about now?
How about now? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great.
Maybe you repeat your question again to Luke.
Okay, so Luke, I think you definitely use Q4, right? So it transfer a 2D picture into a printable STL.
I haven't used that yet, but I know that Mosaic actually has it set up where you can paint an STL, so you can, like if you're doing multicolor, you can select which zones or regions of a part are different colors. Is that what you're sort of alluding to?
Okay, so I don't know if Q4 use the same calculation, like Mosaic, but anyway, there is a long way to go for the wasting issues.
Wasting issues, yeah, of
So-
course.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just kind of personally interested in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that long term will be improved. And as Joseph Escalona, if I say his name right, he's pointing out that with the right models, if the slicers understood it could do the purging or the color changes in the infill of parts. But there's so many different sizes and shapes of parts in the multicolor thing or whatever. It's crazy, especially like with a model has multiple colors continuing through layers. I don't know that you could even get most of it in the infill. Somebody was talking about the T500 and an MMU and make the filaments, change of the filaments, put in the print. Yeah. Somebody has a multi-chamber design with a rotary hot end with multiple nozzles. Yeah, back in the day, somebody was working on a 3 or 4 nozzle thing where they could tip the nozzle to expose different nozzles. And that was sort of effective, other than we get the material is flowing when it's hot, right? So those other 3 hot ends, when they're brought into bear, still have to purge or wipe and clean up to be primed to start printing, which is a whole nother challenge. I would suppose if you had some way of creating a mechanical stop or something over the end of the nozzle to leave it fully primed, if somebody came up with something like that, it might help. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to be figured out to less wastefully multicolor or multi-material print. I think most of the inroads are going to start in the multicolor, and then once we learn the multicolor well, then the multi-material will be the next challenge, especially when materials have different temperatures of melt. As an example, I'll give you a tough one. If you wanted to print PLA and PETG both in the same print, PLA ostensibly is 210 degrees, depending on what your settings are, and TPU is 245, right? So if you're going through the same nozzle, once that PLA has been there at 210, you heat up, the PETG comes in at 245, Now when you go back to PLA, you have to leave it at 245 and flush all of that PET G out, because any residue left in there that doesn't get purged, when you lower the temperature back down, will cause the nozzle to clog. A lot of people that work back and forth between PLA and PET G can attest to this. It's a very real problem when you're switching material temperatures and material base properties. And yeah, there's going to be a lot more than just getting our trimming rates right, swapping in multi-materials.
So for multi-material, do you think the Prusa XL is a smart solution, like multi-extruder and hot ends?
I mean, with the concepts that we're talking right now, for effectively creating a print, it's probably closest in how it's set up to do it, because you can have the hot ends at different temperatures and each has its own. You're still going to be wasting from that purging that we have to do and stuff, but it's probably the closest to true multi-material, multi-color that you're going to be able to do currently. But yeah, and then we can also introduce the concepts now of certain plastics bond to other plastics better than others, and there'll be a whole learning curve about what can be printed to other things to maintain a bond long term and not, right? So that'll be a whole other layer of this multi-material sandwich.
And I think I have some stuff. I just checked this YouTubers like CNC Kitchen and other people. They kind of make some stuff related to multi-color printing, but not the process, but the end result, that waste. So they try so many ways to kind of maximize the usage of the waste. What do you think about that? And what do you relate to handle your waste? Not the multicolor, but the failure.
Yeah, the failure rates. Yeah, so yeah, there's been a pretty strong interest in the community for those that don't want to just throw their waste materials into landfills. Yeah, that being said, the people that are coming up with ways to either use silicone molds or other things to heat the waste up and create secondary products with those, I think that's a really smart way to not be just necessarily throwing your materials into the landfill. I personally, I don't have the time to dedicate to that, so my local landfill is receiving all of my waste. I just don't have the time to try and hold it and process it and reconsolidate it to be new filament. It's just not practical at the moment. So I'm reading this in custom. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody mentioned the T500 would be a nice IDEX option. Yeah, I didn't really look underneath the bridge, but with the replaced X gantry, you could almost pull it off, and that would be sort of neat. But unfortunately, Matt, I think it is Matt German. This stuff like this is very niche in the volume of people that will buy things like that, and you know, you've already with the T500, you're in like 4% of the people maybe in the community want a printer like the T500, and then of those that would want it or would pay for an IDEX on top, now you're probably in like 10 or 15% of that 4%. I don't know what that works out to be, but that's like 0.00 something percent. It's not a lot, so it's not very cost effective for manufacturers for stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, I really like to hear the comment from about this one, about that T500 with Alex, because You ever thinking about this direction of the product?
Yeah, so T500 is a huge and stable machine. Like if we realize multicolor on T500, we can bring like 500 times 500 Q4. That would be amazing. Like,
So
Yeah,
think of you.
I think it would be if you're gonna do IDEX, and if you're gonna do like I talked about, where you have a print farm where you're gonna make many parts to minimize the waste per part ratio, then a T500 is a great platform for it, for sure, right? Because you can do, let's say 200% more than your average 220 by 220 bed, or is it 4 times? Be 400% more, I think is what it works out to be. But anyhow, yeah, that would be the one to do that kind of stuff on if you're a manufacturer and making tons of multicolored parts for Etsy or whatever your end use is.
All right. I think maybe like to bring another thing that not related products related, but somehow that at least people talking about the hype of A1, and even some YouTubers said that yeah, it's awesome, but you need to make sure you have the very specific need for that. So
Yeah.
I think from customer perspective, what do you think about this? Because they said now if you open the YouTube, you see every people have this A1 and said it's awesome. What do you think about that? From customer side, anyway.
Yeah. So I'll be the old codger in the room and point out that almost everybody that's a content provider that's so excited about these things, they're generally getting their product at free or reduced price, and that enthusiasm probably wouldn't be there if they were paying their own money for filament and the extra cost of the MMU. So you do you. I think that there's a lot of people that will have fun with MMUs. I think we should continue to develop them. If you want to have an MMU, go ahead and get it. Just understand that at least for one-off parts, or even let's say you're going to do 3 parts to a waste block, your material loss is 1/3 of your material. So if you're making 1 kilo's worth of parts, 0.3 kilos is going to get thrown in the garbage, whether it's shredded and made back into other things or melted into little plates or whatever you do with it. It's going away. It'll never be used, and that can be expensive. I mean, your cost to part ratio is changing as well. So just be educated in what you're getting into, and then also a side thing to this is, and this is just me being the pessimist from doing beta testing and stuff, some of these systems haven't been very well fleshed out for longevity of life of service, and I think we're going to end up with people that have MMUs that have dedicated parts that are not readily available, that aren't going to be serviceable in the next 3 to 5 years because of we're at that initial stage. So put that into your how about I want to have the goodie budget, and decide if it's for you or not. I mean, if you want to have one, I think everybody that wants to have one should have one. Absolutely. But there are downsides.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Because I just because with our Sovol, our colleague also Rong also already buying the A1 from China. So he of course he plays with his personal aim, not company, but anyways, it's kind of hate both outside and your market or the China even. So kind of interested about that. And also one thing that I want to say that well, personally, you know, so also not a short time. So what do you think the best thing we so as a whole need to learn from the BMU or other companies from our product side or even digital technology? Based on our situation, we have product that kind of maybe kind of fall behind a little bit. Yeah, what's your suggestions?
And sorry, between reading the side comment and a little bit of internet blocking, I didn't get to understand everything you said. Fraser, it's unfortunate that you've been down for a little bit. They've given you information to contact them to try and make you whole. If you need any help in quantifying your issues, also you can include me by just contacting me directly at Luke Hatfield on Facebook, and I will also assist you with that. But yeah, so I'm sorry, Ben, I literally didn't understand what you said because the audio was chopping.
Oh, I just said that based on Sovol's latest situation, that actually people just I see the comment that people said that about the SW05 with linear rails, it's the linear rail and Pulse Y. We're already working on it, and it should be coming very soon. Except that, because everybody already doing that. So except that, what do you think the first priority stuff for someone need to learn or to accomplish from other companies like Blackbook? What do you think?
Okay, so I'm going to expose myself here to a little bit of criticism in the community. So, and this is going to reflect just as much on Creality as it does Sovol and everybody else. There's this impression that linear rails are so much more superior for 3D printing, yet the reason that the CR10 and all those early printers printed so much better than the printers that had linear rails early on is because the POM wheels, the wheels that they write on, are vibration dampening. That's why their part finishes can be so pristine as compared to a linear rail driven printer. Now the community is, the modders and the people, they're like, oh, this must be better, give us this in our product. But those rails can wear out in a shorter service life than those wheels will. And also, we're creating such a rigid environment that any machine vibration is getting applied to that part finish, and that's why you're going to see less clean micro details in your part finishes with linear rails. So should we not have linear rail machines? I don't know, but you have to understand that you're trading this dampening or softening effect of the wheels when you go to linear rails, and you're giving up longevity. I know several people that run print farms, and their linear rail machines last maybe 60% as long as the same machine running the same parts, the same things with POM wheels, because dirt gets into the little wheels, it grinds on the rails, the tolerances loosen up, then it shatters more and stuff. And these are things that the community hasn't really acknowledged very well in their reach to have the best printer for the lowest budget. They're pushing the cost of the materials down, but now getting something for themselves that they may not want. And I'm not saying you can't have them or that there's not a place for them, but is it a general improvement to the quality of the print? That's the question that I'm posing. And I will say, as far as surface smoothness, anyways, you're going to get a better print with a printer that has POM wheels on it. Now, Sovol has offered both between their SV06 and SV07. You have two options as to what kind of rails you're running on and what that presents in print finishes. But the market is not really appreciating the higher expense of those rails that they're putting on their equipment. And either you're going to vote with your dollars. If you keep buying machines with those and show Sovol that that's what you want, then they'll keep doing it. But the customer is going to drive what they're going to get by their purchasing dollars when it comes down to it.
I want to talk about the heat speed. Yeah. So I have noticed more and more brands are facing MMU 3D printers with solving heating block and AC powering content. So I'm talking about like Reality K1 Max. They are the first to use ceramic heating block, and I think Bentley is using AC powering on that. So how do you think about this? Is this a trend that the community demands faster heating experience? That it actually helps our daily drinking?
All right, so the audio was cutting up a little bit. If I understand the question right, is the community demanding faster and faster printing? Is that the core of the question that you're asking?
The faster and faster heating, like heating up the nozzle and on that.
I'm sorry, it keeps, I'm losing some of the audio.
Sorry, we have that.
You're back.
Yeah, back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about speed of heating and also speed of printing, right?
Only the speed of heating. Reality is using ceramic heating block on their line and so that's adequate with their net force decrease.
Okay, so I think I got enough of it now. So you're talking about the new ceramic heaters on like the K1 Max, and a couple other vendors. Yeah, I think that those ceramic heaters, as long as they last longer, are doing a more efficient heating job because they're encapsulating the whole nozzle. That's going to allow higher deposition rates, and that's definitely a positive. I don't know about the long-term service of those, but time will tell on that. But I think it's a positive trend. I even when Ben was back with Creality, I was nudging them towards those ceramic heaters that wrap the hut in. So I think it's a good choice.
So also it's not only about the hot end, but also the hot end. Like I think MLab is using AC powering hot bed instead of DC powering.
Oh. Yeah, so I am not against AC power for the heat bed with a very big provision. The machine has to be set up so that the grounding is proper, that if something happens that it short circuits the thing. You almost have to have a built-in circuit breaker within the printer and everything wired properly, otherwise you're creating a very big health risk. There's plenty of people in the modding community that are running AC bed stuff. Some of them aren't even wiring it properly. That scares me a little bit. But if anytime it's brought to me, I will point out very clearly it must be properly set up with grounding to trip the breaker and protection and fusing so that if it does short out, that it's properly handled. So the reaction time is awesome, right? You're getting this much more robust amperage, so you can turn the bed up, have the bed heat up in like, under a minute, I think, on some of those, which is very, very good. But as an industry, and even to those privately doing it through the online sources, be very, 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 very careful, because it's a life safety issue. If you're not set up right to power that bed, you're putting somebody at risk of getting electrocuted. And I don't know, it's probably before your time, but early on ANET, A8s, they had a problem just from the end of the PSU being exposed and exposing people to potentially getting electrocuted. And that was a big problem then, right? And we've come forward from that, and we're now moving into a different area where AC power might be I don't want to call it a threat, but a hazard, and we have to be very respectful of that.
That makes protection is very
Yeah. All people feedback that only far away, so they tune and they all speak loud. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll help some, because I was not hearing much of what he was saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Melody also maybe have something to right. I think we have prepared. Yeah.
Row has gone that day, right?
Yeah.
You stay here. You sit here. You
Curious.
sit here.
So I'm just curious, what's your experience of this machine?
So
I have watched a review video in YouTube, and okay.
It's all right.
okay,
Yeah.
so it's a very finished product. Like it has its own app, and the connection is very stable, and the instruction is like very finished that you can follow every single step. And but there is one issue about this product is like it's too finished. Like I got problem with my hot end semester, and I need to replace it. I have just unscrewed more than I think 20 screws, and I still cannot find where the semester is. So it's more complicated for customer to to maintain the very best situation of the printer. Like for an industry, we just like it takes like 10 minutes for me to replace the semester, but I think it takes like an hour for me to replace the semester for A1. That's one issue come with the bare finished product. So.
Maybe it's open source, so there are no room for.
I think the maintenance is not too much about the open source issue, but yeah, I think but apparently don't want the customer to like to replace their parts.
I can see I have a good example that so that the famous A1 kind of like an iPhone. When it works perfect. It's the top of the top, but when it have problem, only Apple fix it.
Yeah, and then I haven't been involved with the A1, but I was with a group of other power users the other day, and one of the comments that they had about why those people were not going to buy any of the Bamboo products was because they're not allowing access from the community to their slicers and to understand what's going on in the back end of their firmware, and that is going to be a thing that plays out for them over time. They're going to have to decide if they're going to truly open source it and allow the community that access, because I personally think that it's going to hurt them if they do not get the community help on it. They've done a pretty good job of reacting to user problems, but that's also creating its own problems with that. I think right now they're at the 6th iteration of fixes at manufacturing for their other products, and that makes 5 other generations of parts that they have to sort through when somebody comes in and says, I have a problem. Now you have to identify which generation of printer you have. So there's backs and forths on what's going on. Creality had the same thing happen with the K1. They fixed some issues with the K1 and the K1 Max, and now they're walking those back and catching them up. And it's a legitimate thing as you try and make it right for the customer, but you're creating some other issues long term in servicing by having different generations of parts available.
Yeah, and so that's a part. I think that's part of that. Where I think inside company, personally, I myself debate a lot that we also follow the trend that make it a smaller, smarter, slick design, and more consumer electronics type. Always just for the differentiation, we do the DIY stuff. Okay, this should, I think this should be core of the Sovol that we cannot make this DIY stuff. It should be easy to use, but its core is to be frank speaking, you need to assemble. You need to tune in. You need some learning curve. It's not like that, because maybe Sovol is small, and we will have that resources to follow up the other people. We don't follow other people. Our product is lame and maybe just fall out. But maybe if we just continue doing this DIY ideology stuff, and we think we maybe could survive at the differentiation. It's a small share, but it's why customer choose Sovol. Because if you go into the easy way, the encoder stuff, that the Bamboo, the P1P, the whether A1 or the practice K1, yeah, you just doing that. So that's what my argument of inside the company that, but still another boss, and that's my thoughts.
Yeah, there's a desire within the community, especially for those that are more the printer is a tool, not a hobby. So because we have different classes of users, right? There's some people out there that are using printers just because it's fun to print. And then there's other people that I'm an artist and this is a tool and I just want to set it up and I want it to go. And we're starting to get close to that with these more refined systems, whether it's Bamboo, the K1. You have some stuff that we haven't announced yet that's leaning that way. But there's going to be a few of these that are going to do really well, that where a school or other places can buy it and use it. Hopefully it won't need a lot of service, but if it needs serviced, it won't take a lot of effort to service, and it's going to take time to work your way into that. I don't know that there's an engineer out there and a budget at the race to the bottom, which is what we have. A lot of people lose sight of that fact. You're making printers right now that retail for $200 to $400 that 7 years ago would have cost $5,000 to $10,000 to have anything close to what we're doing right now. And I think at some point the community needs to come to realization that we're getting close to that threshold, and now we're going to be value adding, and there's probably even going to be a push back up in price to get that level of serviceability, reliability, durability of parts. The price is going to have to start coming back up, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who aren't going to be happy about that, but that's how this curve is going to go. We took that race to the bottom, and now we've leveled out, and now it's going to start tracking back up as we get exactly what people want, but they're going to have to pay for it at the point of purchase.
Okay. I think thank you so much, everybody. Still stay to this. I'm maybe doing a little bit too late, right? Here. So anyone watching right now, you can ask questions and we'll answer. We'll answer now. Since I think everybody today join live, share their topics. I hope you all enjoyed. And so first question here is Facebook user randomness. Just join the stream. Have a random question. Will there be another box frame style printer released or an updated version of the S3 open at S5 and S6? S6. I loved it. Great value. Thank you. So I think maybe this is maybe first that maybe Ron come something on this. I think it's about
When we are develop something, we zip our mouth. So
yeah. So I asked people, right?
So the answer is we can't tell you without cutting our professional throats. And I will put a comment out there that's not necessarily Sovol specific, but I've been dealing a little bit with Creality's new Ender 5 S1, and I think it's a pretty decent offering as well, but they're not selling in the market like one would have thought, because they gave the users everything they asked for. You know, the VL Touch, Direct Drive, all these things, but they're not selling. And I don't know if it's, I'm trying to figure it out on my own, but I think it's because it's right at that cusp of it needs Clipper also, and that might be the thing or whatever, but these are the things that the manufacturers are struggling with, whether it's Sovol, Creality, Bamboo, whoever, trying to match up that set of components, and the price to value is an ongoing journey, and hopefully you get a product that is a long-term winner. Occasionally there will be short-term losers, and unfortunately there hasn't been a lot of those. I mean, shoot, if you get right down to it, there's still people out there running around buying and using ANET A8s, and if they're doing that, they've already lost, because they got to spend so much time setting them up. They just didn't do enough research to find out what else is available. But anyhow, I know that all of the manufacturers in the end want to give the end users a quality machine, what they can within the budget restraints, and I look forward to continuing my work with Sovol, Comgrow, and the other companies as they refine their offerings to please the customers and also do good business.
And people watching here, any further questions want to talk about, whether with Luke or with Sovol team? Since we have already 1 hour chatting, so it's fun. Oh, look, I forget you want to talk about the sphere of MMU, right?
Yeah, we dug into the MMU out of order or whatever. I think we've sort of beat that horse to death. Cliff notes on MMUs. They're neat to play with. If you understand that you're on a single part basis, you're 1-to-1 or more than 1-to-1 more waste than the actual part to make single parts. If you're okay with that, then have at it. Go for it, and help develop the community of the MMUs, and over time they'll get better and better. that being said, they're the best benefit to somebody who's making parts on Etsy or something like that, where you can waste once to do 50 parts or 100 parts instead of for one part, right? That's where they're going to shine. But if you just want to have cool multicolored parts and you don't like painting stuff, go for it. It's just going to cost you a lot of filament.
And I think last but not least, that maybe you could share a little bit more about your progress of learning Chinese. I think this is a fun part.
Put me on the spot. So I've recently had the aspiration to learn to speak Chinese, to be able to talk with my friends here, and I am at the very, very beginning stages of it. I've been learning how to count, and I can say a basic greeting, but over time I hope to get to a proficiency level where I can talk more technical things with the team and stuff, and then maybe one of these days if I get to go visit, I won't necessarily need an interpreter while I'm visiting to survive my visit. But yeah, so once I get a little bit better and more practice, we'll drag a little bit of Chinese out in one of these for the Chinese speaking people, just for fun. But I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, because latest I'm reading a book written by the former Singapore president called Lee Kong Yew, right? If you heard of him, yeah. First time when I buy this book, I think he's talking about his way to be a good president, because he's very famous, recognized by all Western world. But in his book, he said actually how he make the English as the first language for Singapore, because they do not say that in the beginning. They have their local language. So back to us, that I think when we are in the very early stage, that the parents school let us learn English. I think at that time we maybe do not know why, right? We just learn it.
So internationally, for better or worse, English has been adopted as the universal language, to the detriment of some societies, right? Unfortunately, like even here in the U.S., fluent Mandarin speakers, a lot of their kids are not even learning Chinese from their parents because their parents want them only to know English. So we're losing language, right? Which I think is tragedy. I think you should be able to maintain it, but it's a lot of work to understand multiple languages, and I'm having to sort of reprogram my way of thinking so that I can take on a second language, being I'm 52 years old now or something like that. No, 51. But anyhow, old dog learning new tricks. I'll get there eventually. I'll get past being able to just say ni hao and other things, but I think it's a worthwhile pursuit, and I look forward to opening my lingual horizons.
Okay. I think anyone share his experience? I think maybe Wanda, like how you learn your English, especially the oral of the oral exams. Yeah. A little bit more that your major, like in college.
Our class, and I think to learn our English, at first we need to listen to others, and then we can speak our English. It's really complicated.
Melody. So what was your way to learn English in a very early stage?
Yeah, I'm playing a little bit with the reading and writing as well as the language to sort of tie it all together. And even within Chinese, you have Mandarin Chinese, Cantonese,
Yeah.
the old language, I forget the name of it right now, but the Fusionese. And then you have the standardized alphabet and the old alphabet and then the real old alphabet. And it's a little bit of a bit to digest working your way through it, but I think I'll get there. I've been working on learning to be able to count in English, or excuse me, in Mandarin. I think that'll help a lot because there's a use for being able to count, but it helps establish your thought process to think about things that way instead of for years I worked as a machinist and I worked with Japanese people, and I had learned as a machinist in U.S. measurements, and they had metric, right? So I learned quickly to convert inches to millimeters and back and forth, but over time, because I was working in a research and development shop, I found it more useful to just do everything in metric, and then I didn't have to do that conversion back and forth, but there's a learning period and a transition back and forth. But I think it'll be a fun journey. Hopefully I don't get eviscerated too bad when I butcher some words or whatever, but we'll give her a good run. And then I'm gonna give Ben some homework. I like the group talk, but we need to get you guys a mic that can sit in the middle of the table, and then you can speak to it instead of to the device that's sitting across the room. And I think that will make it easier for you to communicate, and we'll have a better conversation, and that might actually grow the interaction with the online community, because then we can develop on some of the questions they have a little bit better.
Yeah, we do both mics in the already. Yeah, but we now figure it out, right? So I think next time.
Yeah, we had that echoing going on, so it's going to be figuring it out, and it's not easy. I mean, people see all these streamers that do it forever. There's always some teething pains of getting past your setups and stuff. But I don't know if Ben's made an official thing about it, but as much as we can, it looks like we're going to try and do this once a week on Wednesdays, which will give it consistency and also help with the audience being more aware, so they could be here to participate more, and it'll give the people that are watching this later that might not even watch it right now. We're doing this so you can have the level of access that an expert user like I do with the manufacturer to talk about things and help them understand you. So as it matures, hopefully that line of communication will open up more and more. So as long as you like watching people talk about printing stuff and stuff relevant to Sovol and Comgrow, and we're going to take on some general industry stuff. We're going to be doing it weekly. The time might change a little bit. We started 6 p.m. Pacific time this week, but I think long term we'll probably start at 7 p.m. Pacific. But other than that, it should be an every Wednesday thing for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for cover everything for us and the suggestions. But anyway, I really like to hear Ron's experience of learning English.
Learning English.
I think your English should be the best.
No, English is fine. So we basically learn our English from our kindergarten.
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh.
So, yeah, playing kindergarten.
No, me.
Okay. So, and I went to Ford, and take my bachelor degree. So I was forced to learn English.
Okay.
Yeah, before before starting in America, my English was kind of like
Oh, so you improve English in
yeah,
the
in
United
America.
States, in America.
Yeah,
Not,
I had to improve it.
Okay.
Yeah, in order to communicate with my professor visually.
Okay.
You know, so in, in in my classes, the professors always try to avoid to make Chinese student to talk because
Oh,
our
Mm.
English. Sorry, I'm not supposed to use curse word in this streaming, so
ah,
but you know that my
okay.
pronunciation is not
Yeah.
it's not that good. So
Yeah.
so our professors avoid it's always trying to avoiding us to talk. But I was trying to figure out how to improve my oral English. So I watch episodes and I speak with them. Like and I have some friends speak English and we keep talking and talking. That's why I kind improve my English a little bit.
So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's one of the things that I'm gonna, as I learn enough to speak, I'm gonna be leaning into my contacts that I know to help me talk a little bit every day to understand it, and I'll also be able to pick up on, am I using each of the 5 tones correctly and stuff. Having 5 tones really adds a whole nother dynamic to changing some of the words and what they mean. And just from a personal perspective, the way you do grammar is part of what I'm not struggling with, but having to learn, because you can say something and then the modifier at the end changes the tense, and that's something that you just have to sort of figure out on the way, I guess. But yeah, it'll be a fun time. I hope I get to the point where I can have a conversation without being struggling to understand, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting part of my life. That I have the song that is 2 years, like 2 years and a half, kind of. And when I just read lately, I read this book that written by the Singapore president Lee Kuan Yew, that some examples that how top people in the early stage. He said when he started learning Chinese, it should be his 40, 50. It's really hard. Even he knew Chinese stuff in early stage, but he not learn it professionally and practically. And the one thing he said that if you not use it, you not practice it. If you just see it every day, you even can talk. You just know it. So there in his book there are many examples, but one example very interesting that there is one person. He how to do his education to his children about language. His grandma taught Cantonese, and when he said to his baby that it's kind of start to say to him that 3 years old, he said to him Cantonese, and his mother said Mandarin, and his father said English. So whenever they set a rule that whenever he talk to anybody, they only speak that language. So at the same time, he just talked to 3 different languages, but they found out there will no influence. He will not confused. He just adapt to that situation. And when he talk to mom, he talk to Mandarin, and talk to his grandma is Cantonese, and talk to his father English, only English. I think it's really
That was a really good strategy. There is some thought to, younger people are more impressionable for learning, but as I do more and more research on which process I'm going to use to learn language, the process doesn't change for youth or adults. It's, you need to learn to communicate. You need to learn to communicate your thoughts in language, and you're basically mapping your pathways when you do that. So that's what I endeavor to do. I'll practice a little on my side, and then I will talk and learn to communicate with others, and I think that will help my brain flow with it better, right? But it'll be fun. I don't think it's going to hurt me to at least try.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the interesting part is that, but the important thing that learning a foreign language, you kind of learning the other culture, understand them, but your root is still Chinese, English. Yeah, because they learning English very earlier. Some people will just learning the surface stuff, not the deep thing. So they think
Right.
they think they are the English as a core, but actually they just Chinese, because people will look them as Chinese, but they think they are English people, especially people living in Singapore. So this is kind of a very interesting perspective for me. So why just bring your process of learning and also share my little reading experience. And I kind of start to talk to my children. I'm thinking that how to taught him that in this very early stage, that compared to later, to force him to learn this and tell him it's useful. I think it's not a way to learn stuff. Yeah.
Then we are running out of hours, so and the talk we cannot fit in, so that's endless.
Anyway, look, thank you so much for joining, and also thank you so much for all audience watch till now. And we will continue next week and improve our audio, especially.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Yeah. So catch you all later. Bye.
Shishi.
Okay.
bye bye.